Last July, we launched the Challenge of Your Life. Thousands of you applied to take part. And after an intensive selection process, we finally chose 10 very special women.
Everybody who came to all of those days were wonderful women, weren't they?
Absolutely fantastic. And it was the toughest and hardest, nastiest thing.
Tissues.
Tissues.
In tears. All right. So here are our 10 ladies.
Yes.
Our first challenge was to join Fern and I on a 400-kilometre cycle across India. Susie Stubley and Jill Lucas completed their ride last November.
Don't even ask me. Off, I tell you. That mild-mannered Jill using a 4-letter word.
Challenge number 2 was to run the London Marathon, a gruelling 26.2 miles from Blackheath to the Mall. Our 4 runners started training last September, but by January, one of them, Shelley Preston, was forced to bow out with a knee injury.
Just pretty unbearable. And I've been advised to give up, and I think I'm going to have to.
This left Jackie Nowdy, Kathy Pates and Ali Christensen to complete their challenge in April. But I think we've saved the best till last.
Your challenge, ladies, is going to be to swim the English Channel.
It's our most ambitious challenge yet. More people go into space than successfully swim the Channel. For 132 years, sportsmen and women from around the world have come to Dover to try. For our final 4, this is going to take an incredible amount of commitment and determination. Pat Nelson is a 59-year-old mother of 6 from Liverpool. She's 5'1" and weighs 15 stone 3 pounds.
You don't have to be skinny and fit and tan to be adventurous. I can be adventurous too.
Lynne Muckett is a 36-year-old divorced single mum of 2 from Surrey. She's 5'10" and weighs 10.5 stone.
It's about finding out who I am and being relaxed with who I am.
Mel Redding is a 36-year-old married mum of 1 from Berkshire. She's 4'11.5" and weighs 10 stone 2 pounds.
I'm up for a challenge at the moment, just to prove that you can do something.
Sally Ludlow is a 45-year-old married mum of 2 from Kent. She's 5'3" and weighs 10.5 stone.
It'd be nice really to just have the time for me again that I used to have before.
Just occasionally I'm going to pop in and take a blood pressure on you, okay?
Okay.
We've asked Professor Greg Whyte, Olympic pentathlete, to look after our girls. You don't get more expert than this man. Greg trained comedian David Walliams to successfully swim the Channel in 2006.
Excellent work, excellent work. Good girl. Pop your hands on the side then. Pop your hands on the side. That's it. Good girl. Well done, well worked.
He's joined by 2 successful solo Channel swimmers, Simon Murray and John Conningham Rolls. They'll be supporting Greg and assisting the girls in their training.
Come on. No slacking.
Back in September, with the challenge 11 months away, the reality of taking part in such a world-famous event seemed very far off. All 4 girls faced a long and emotional journey.
I've always wanted to do something that would be really physically challenging, that would stretch me physically. I've struggled with being disabled, and it's only in recent years that I've become comfortable with the fact that I'm disabled.
When she was 11, Pat was diagnosed with TB in her hip and taken into hospital.
The bone in my hip was eaten away so badly that the doctors had to fuse the hip joint. There weren't any artificial hip joints then. So they fused the hip joint, which means that me leg is permanently fused halfway between a stand-in and a sit-in position. When I was 14, I was told that I might never walk again and I might need to use a wheelchair for the rest of my life. But the operation worked and I was able to walk.
Then when she was 15, she met her husband, Jeff.
We went out on a date on a trip to Blackpool. We got engaged on our first date with the ring we won on the fair as a joke, and we've now been married 40 years.
They have 3 grown-up daughters and 11 grandchildren. They've also fostered 2 more girls, Jackie and Nikki, identical twins with Down syndrome when they were 3 years old. And then they adopted Dan when he was 5 weeks old. He has Down syndrome and autism and is now 27.
Been a full-time mum for 40 years almost, and I'm still a full-time mum. It is hard to find time for myself. I mean, I've been part of a couple since I was 15. I've got no concept of myself as an individual, and I just wanted to see what it was like to go and do something by myself, for myself, something that I'd chosen to do, and to go and do something challenging, particularly go and sort of do it with another group of women.
Sally Ludlow is also a busy mum. She has 2 daughters, 16-year-old Freya and 10-year-old Paris, and she's been married to Peter for 14 years. She's worked in the control centre of Kent Fire and Rescue Service for 27 years.
I work 2 9-hour days and 2 15-hour nights, so it's a 42-hour week. And then I incorporate that with being a wife and mother as well. It's very hard to find time for myself now, even though the girls are older. I do find sort of half an hour, 45 minutes to go out on my bike, but there always seems to be something else to do. There's either work to do or housework to do, and it sounds like I'm moaning, but really you just need some me time, and you need to make that me time for yourself.
Juggling motherhood and a full-time job left Sally with postnatal depression after the birth of her second child.
Sometimes when you're very down, you sort of think, well, why is this happening? Because this isn't me, this is not like me at all. And bursting into tears at anything, but that's not really the person I am. I think I've become a hard person to try and cope with everything that's happened, and I know I had to go back to work. I had to sort of get myself better. I can take medicine or drugs or whatever, but you have to help yourself, really, heal yourself.
When you're faced with a life-threatening illness, you also have to dig deeply inside yourself to remain strong, something our third challenger, Mel Redding, knows all too well after being diagnosed with breast cancer.
It was just horrendous. I just couldn't imagine how I was going to get through it. Then I think my brain just went into autopilot, and I just was ringing all my friends and telling them and telling my family, and because they all wanted to know the outcome.
Married to Darren with 4-year-old daughter Emily, it was less than 2 years ago that Mel had to cope with chemotherapy and a mastectomy.
I remember sitting in the bathroom and my hair was just falling out, and there was this big sink full of my hair. Went to have a shower and that was it, and it was gone.
Mel has faced the possibility of her own death, but now she's come through all the treatment, she's been clear of cancer for over a year.
I needed to do something that wasn't invasive or surgical or anything. I just want to do something for me that shows me as a person.
Our final challenger, Lynne Muckett, is still trying to come to terms with the death of her little boy, Joe.
He died at home with me. Although he then went into hospital, he was... I had no pulse and he'd gone, which I'm so thankful that he was with me. And we got to know this little boy. It was amazing. After Joe died, I think the honest truth is I wanted to die with him.
Joe was Lynne's first child. He had severe cerebral palsy, brain damage and epilepsy. He was blind and deaf and died when he was just 7 months old. Lynne went on to have Hope, who's now 8, and Matthew, who's 6.
He's autistic, which is hard work to say the least, but he teaches me something new every day. They're the 2 little people that keep me going.
Who's going to do the grass?
Me.
Lynne is now divorced and her ex has the children for 5 days every 2 weeks. Although this should be a welcome break, she struggles with being alone.
My kids are my life. They're my whole life. That's all I'm here for. That's the problem. I've got nothing that drives me when they're not here.
All 4 of our swimmers were looking for a challenge that would lift them out of their day-to-day lives and force them to make some positive changes.
I don't think I've achieved anything in life, so it will be really fantastic to actually do something for me.
You never know what's around the corner, and I think now it's like opened my eyes to thinking, well, you know, don't settle for second best. If you want to go and do something, go and do it.
I just feel really ready to do something for me. It's just time to do something for me.
I'm going to go for it and I'm going to succeed, and then at the end of it I'm going to know that I can do anything.